Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. First up, a meat bandit who thought he could outrun justice until he left behind the dumbest evidence ever. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. The one who almost got away. I work as a retail security guard. Every few months, they move me around to a new location. The previous Sunday, I worked at a grocery store in downtown Toronto. The store owner approached me and showed me a photo and footage of this man they've been trying to catch for around 3 to 4 months. He always stole $500 plus worth of meat, pharmacy, and other expensive product. He would also always leave the store from the fire exit. I told him that this week would be the week we catch him. On Thursday, I was doing a patrol of the outside of the building when I saw a man standing by the fire exit door smoking a cigarette. He had a white bike with him. I had a feeling it was the guy they'd been looking for, so I went back into the store to tell the store owner and manager on duty to get ready and be on the lookout. Lo and behold, he came in with his bag and after 5 minutes already stuffed $266.38 worth of product into his bag. We found this out after we caught him, scanned all the items he stole. We approached him and I said, "Hey buddy, we need to speak to you. We have footage of you stealing more than once." That was when he tried bolting out the fire exit, but a staff member was already blocking the way. He turned around and started running towards the front exit, knocking a few displays over and making a complete mess. By the time he got to the front exit, another employee had already manually locked the door. He had at least 5 to 6 male employees on him. We weren't letting him go this time. The manager on duty grabbed him by the backpack and he started yelling, "Please let me go. I won't come back. I won't come back." The store owner said to let him go as we had no handcuffs anyway, and he slipped out of his backpack and ran out the front exit. 2 minutes later, he came back and asked for his backpack and then he would leave. I thought that there must be something important in the bag, so I told him that the only way he'd be getting it back is if he stayed until the police came. He left after that and never came back. We checked his bag and there were open hydro bills, his phone bill, etc. They had his name, address, phone number, everything. The police came a few hours later towards the end of my shift and we told them everything that happened. They took the bag as evidence and said they were going to pay him a visit. He could have got away if he didn't leave his personal info in his bag. How strange. What kind of dummy would set out to rob a place with their utility bills on their person? And our second story. Older woman assaults me in a store because she thought I worked there. This happened when I was still in high school. I was shopping at a clothing store I go to very often. Usually the stores are structured so that they have the women's, men's, and kids' clothes in sections connected by small walkways, but each section is its own separate room. It's really not hard to navigate because there are clear signs everywhere. I like to wander through all the sections because I often find clothing that'll fit me. On this particular day, I went after school on a Friday. My school has a uniform that consists of a white or blue polo with a plaid skirt and is widely recognizable in the area. The skirt was mid-thigh length on me due to my height. While it wasn't exactly knee length, I wouldn't call it short either, as I could safely bend down. I had an armful of clothes that I was going to try on later, and I accidentally knocked some clothes off a rack with a hanger that was sticking out. The decent human thing to do would be to pick up what you dropped, right? Well, I bent down to pick it up when I hear someone huff and storm up behind me. I thought they were angry I was in the way, so I apologized to her and walked off. She wasn't a Karen, she was an older lady. She was Karen's mom. I'm going to call her Glenda. Suddenly, Glenda grabs my shoulder and jerks me backwards, making me drop my armful of clothes. Glenda: "Why were you ignoring me? I've been following you for 8 minutes now. You didn't even acknowledge me." Me: "Why did you touch me? Do I know you?" Glenda: "You effing kids. I do not need to introduce myself to you to get your help." Me, still oblivious but annoyed: "I'm sorry, what do you need my help for?" Glenda: "Are you dumb? Are you useless? Why did they hire you? I want to know where the hell blah 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 is and I can't find it because of your confusing store layout." Me: I don't work here. You can follow the signs." Glenda: "Liar! You kids are so lazy. I can see you work here. You have the collared shirt on." At this point, I just turned around to walk away. I could hear her screaming after me about managers and how I'm incompetent, but I just wanted to get out of her near vicinity as soon as possible. Unfortunately, my plans of escaping were foiled as I needed to pick up my clothes that dear Glenda threw on the ground for no reason. As soon as I bent down, Glenda screams, "Don't do that again, you slut! Don't bend down in your little skank skirt. They should fire you for how you dress alone." Unfortunately, this isn't a satisfying story where I pressed charges and got Glenda put away for assault. I was 14 and dumb and hated confrontation, so escaping from her was the best I could do. I picked up my clothes and put them away on the fitting room rack and left because I didn't feel like trying anything on anymore. On my way out, I saw Glenda yelling at someone who I presume is the manager and pointing in my general direction. I waved and walked right out. Best believe I'd be much more vindictive if it happened today. Every time I read a story like this, I'm so baffled. These people drive cars, hold jobs, have families, and otherwise function in society? I don't understand how. And our next story. Entitled woman demands a cheeseburger at a Japanese restaurant, leaves in handcuffs instead. My family and I have been regulars at this little Japanese restaurant ever since we moved to the town 10 years ago. It's a cozy spot tucked between a pharmacy and a dry cleaner and a strip mall. Not exactly the most glamorous location, but the food's always been top-notch. The place has gone through a few ownership changes over the years, 4 to be exact, but the most recent owners, a husband and wife team, really brought new life to it. Since taking over about 6 months ago, they've added thoughtful little touches that made the whole experience even better. They started giving out free mochi ice cream at the end of every meal, soft, chewy rice dough with cold ice cream in the center, and sometimes a Japanese version of those fancy Milano cookies. It wasn't anything extravagant, but it was a warm, charming gesture that made it feel like home. We loved bringing friends and family there for dinner. So this particular night, we just finished up a great meal, some sashimi, tempura, and a few rolls to share. My parents were chatting over green tea, my younger sister was already eyeing the dessert tray, and I was savoring my matcha mochi when the atmosphere shifted. The front door swung open with an unnecessary level of force, and in stomped this older woman, probably mid-60s, but with the energy and volume of someone trying to command a battalion. She had her hair curled up high, huge sunglasses perched on her head despite it being past 8 p.m., and a handbag big enough to hold a bowling ball. She didn't even pause to see if there was a host or someone to greet her. "Hey, you there, get me a table," she barked in the general direction of the sushi chef, who was busy slicing yellowtail. Everyone kind of froze for a second. I actually saw one of the other diners lower their chopsticks mid-bite. One of the servers, let's call him S, hurried over, putting on the kind of smile that restaurant workers wear like armor. S: "Hello, ma'am, I'd be happy to help you. Would you like a table for one?" OW: "Get me a window seat, now." S blinked but nodded and led her to a table near the window. There were plenty of empty seats at the time, so it wasn't a problem, but the way she demanded it was just bizarre. People were definitely watching at this point. My mom leaned over and whispered, "Wow, somebody skipped their blood pressure meds." We figured maybe she'd just sit down, get a miso soup and some sushi and settle down. We were very wrong. As we were getting our checks and about to head out, we heard her again, this time yelling across the restaurant. OW: "Hello, are you going to come take my order or not?" S walked back over, still trying to be polite. S: "Ma'am, please don't shout. This is a family restaurant." OW, completely ignoring him: "Why don't you people serve American food? I looked at this menu and it's all raw fish and seaweed." S: "Pardon?" OW: "This is America. Why don't you have a hamburger or a chicken fried steak? What kind of place is this?" You could see S take a deep breath, probably counting to 10 in his head. S: "This is a Japanese restaurant, ma'am. We specialize in Japanese cuisine. If you prefer something more traditionally American, there's a diner just across the parking lot." OW: "Are you calling me fat?" S: "No, ma'am, just offering you another option." OW: "Get me your manager. It's illegal to refuse a customer American food." At this point, the entire restaurant was watching. Even the sushi chef had paused mid-slice. It was like a soap opera, except with miso soup. S gave her a tight nod and walked to the back. A minute later, the owner, O, emerged. He was a quiet older gentleman who usually only came out of the kitchen to thank guests or hand out mochi. He walked over calmly and asked if there was a problem. "Oh, hello, ma'am. My staff tells me you're unhappy." OW: "You're damn right I'm unhappy. This is America. Why won't you serve American food? I know my rights." Oh, We serve Japanese food here. That's what our restaurant is. If you'd like to eat somewhere else, that's your choice. OW, I'll get you arrested. I'll have this place shut down. You're violating my constitutional rights. That was when O, without raising his voice, leaned in slightly and whispered something to her in Japanese. We couldn't hear what he said, but the look on her face was priceless. Eyes wide, mouth open, completely stunned. Later, he told us that he had said something along the lines, which is basically the equivalent of, "Get lost," in the most cutting Japanese way possible. The woman stood up, turned around, and shouted, "I'll call the cops." And that's exactly what someone else did, but not her. S quietly walked over to the phone and called the local police. "We have a disruptive customer refusing to leave," he said simply. The officers showed up within 10 minutes. OW tried her whole song and dance with them, too, screaming about constitutional rights and how it was illegal not to sell her a cheeseburger. The officers were clearly unimpressed. After a few minutes of back and forth, they escorted her out, and yes, she was in handcuffs. I don't know if they charged her or not, but they definitely made it clear she was not welcome back. As things calmed down, our server came by again and apologized. We assured him it wasn't necessary. In fact, we tipped extra that night and ordered a second round of mochi just to lighten the mood. I'll never forget how calm and collected the whole staff was throughout the chaos. I still go to that restaurant regularly. Great food, and even better entertainment, if you're lucky. She really came in expecting a cheeseburger from a sushi chef in a strip mall after 8 p.m. in full Real Housewives cosplay? That takes commitment to delusion. And our last story. Blocked an ambulance, ignored EMTs, and got his cruiser towed. This happened around the 4th of July. There was a small fender bender and emergency services got called out. My towing company sends me out by accident, not realizing the flatbed at the scene could tow both vehicles. There was 1 ambulance and 5 police cruisers, 3 cruisers blocking the road, 1 directing traffic, and then the a-hole who showed up after the scene was secured. A-hole felt the need to park his cruiser crossway diagonally in front of the ambulance, not necessarily blocking the path, but if anyone has driven an ambulance, they're a pain to reverse around obstacles. The EMTs asked the a-hole to move his cruiser, and he literally said, "When I'm ready," and resumes chatting with the cop directing traffic. Another cruiser shows up, and it's a sergeant who knew me and the company I work for. He goes off to deal with the scene, and the EMTs rush to him to talk to him about moving the cruiser. I see his stomping in my direction and then walks to the cruiser, and the door was locked. He called for the cop that pulled in front, and he either didn't respond, ignore, or wasn't aware his superior was there. He looked pissed and reached for the radio, but then he looked at me and asked what my drop fee was. 5 minutes go by, and he waves to me to get the cruiser, so I line up and sting it and dragged it out of the way, and the ambulance drivers waved and left the area. He told me to keep the cruiser hooked because he wanted to teach the a-hole a lesson. He walked over to the cop directing traffic and a-hole and alerted him that he was getting towed. He rushed back and demanded I put the car down, and that it's not a funny joke, but I reminded him that all tows are fair in the county if the car is illegally parked. He looked at the sergeant, and the sergeant reminded him that the ordinance extends to emergency vehicles. Had to look this up, it's not. He tried to negotiate to 40, but my drop fee's 100. He hesitates, but he pulls out 520s from his wallet, and I put his cruiser down. He got in his cruiser, and he didn't look too happy as he pulled away. The sergeant busts out laughing and said that kid needed that. He told me he's only been on the force less than a few weeks, and he was acting like he ran the place as if he was the sergeant. We shook hands, talked about work and Hot Wheels, and off I went $100 richer. There are plenty of good cops, but any profession with authority over others attracts bullies and a-holes. They need to either be put in their place or weeded out immediately before they get embedded. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.